Hi there everyone, Jay here from Jade Productions, back with another video after a month-long silence due to a lot of contemplation, a lot of introspection and review, and a lot of patience, and also a small vacation. So, I was covering 3rd edition for quite a bit, and then it reached a point where, at the point where I don't want to say anything more. And this was when the core rules were revealed, because I was really thinking hard about the things I did and didn't like about 3rd edition. And so this, as you can tell from the title, is my review. At this point, I've had a few days with this. Actually, it's almost a week now. And on top of that, the core rules before it, when they were released, having gone through this quite thoroughly. Also, took some time to build the stuff in the Dominion box and actually paint it. And this is just my review and thoughts on 3rd edition so far. So, here we go. I like 3rd edition. But 3rd edition is nice. It has brought in some new mechanics and definitely expanded the core mechanics in very good and cool ways, I think. Heroic actions, monstrous rampages, these are good things. These are fun things. They're not very intrusive into the main formula. They are certainly interesting, and I look forward to playing with them more. I've only played a little bit with them, not very much. I've mostly not really had a chance to really play with 3rd edition yet. Mostly look at it and see a bunch of other people playing games and talk to them about it. So these things are cool. The expansion and on magic and prayers and invocations and endless spells. These changes are very nice. Talking about, how endless prayers have been done, and priests have been nerfed quite heavily. But at this, and while this is definitely, as T is going to argue, unfortunately he couldn't be with me for this video, it's certainly got its good side. It's definitely a nerf. He thinks it's a definite nerf, and I would agree. It's definitely, priests have definitely been nerfed in this edition, and the nerf is because of the new limit that they can only ever cast or only ever pray one prayer. It really is encouraging a lack of diversity. Because now you're always going to be going for that one prayer that is just always the clearly superior one. And, he spent a lot of time actually really salty because both of his armies are, 2 out of 3 of his armies are really priest-based. Both the Daughters of Cain and Halfguard. He actually complained a lot about both his factions being nerfed, to which I had to remind him, boy, you're 2 of the most powerful armies in the entire meta. Why are you complaining about being nerfed to not be toxic to play against on occasion when you bring your stupid list? Like, I can have fun against your Halfguard list now without them being oppressive. Come on. Really. So, this is something people need to take into account when it comes to new edition and nerf changes. Things are always going to be rebalanced. Things that were on top before are going to have their power level lowered. Things that were on the bottom before might get better. That's here or there to me. Here or there. The points changes that have accompanied 3rd edition, they're points changes. They're dumb. They're really dumb. Because they want to make our games smaller. The problem is, they were at the perfect scale before. And, I had perfect 2,000 point lists that were, really, really good, really small, didn't require much effort. They were perfect pick-up and play lists. Ruined, but, And now some units are completely overcast for what they do. Their formula the GW formula for mathematically calculating their points for Age of Sigmar that they talked about in a community article. I never made a video on it because it just made me so angry. It's complete bullshit. It's completely dumb. They're fucking... Games Workshop are retards. I have no idea how to balance their own game. But, not what I'm talking about today. It's a bit of a tangent there. The third edition is very nice in most of its aspects. I've enjoyed the expansion on all of it, as well as the clean nature in which it has been presented. Most of you have already had a chance to look at the core rules by this stage. By the way, this core rulebook, best core rulebook I have ever seen. I love this core rulebook. Amazing art, amazing lore, everything's covered. There's maps and details, an absurd amount. There's annotated diagrams of cities and the new townships from the Dawnbringer Crusades, all sorts of really cool stuff. Hints at things to come. It's an amazing, amazing book. I love it. This is... The 9th edition 40k book is a piece of shit compared to this book. Hell, most core books have been pieces of shit compared to this book. This is a really nice book, both in quality of product, like just in materials alone, as well as content, and format, and display, and presentation. Amazing core rulebook. I don't think I've seen a core rulebook this good since... probably some of the older fantasy books and older 40k books. It's very nice. It's very nice, and I definitely like that it's in this hardcover thing. It's what people like about the Horus Heresy Black books. Those are very nice books as well. I would say this isn't quite on par with the quality of the early ones of those, but it's still very nice. As I said to T, who said I should probably get a General's Handbook just so I can have a more portable, smaller copy. As I said to him, I don't feel like a true wargamer. I can't get a full-blown wargamer erection unless I'm referencing out of a big, hardback book. It makes me feel like a man. This is like this fucking good book, boys. Solid recommend. Just for the lore and everything in it by itself. If that wasn't enough. So, the rules are definitely really, really good. And I'm just gonna, in this review, just very briefly go over them, since most people have already read them by themselves. I just wanna... There's a few talking points I have. So, we have our core rules. Pretty much everything we need to know. The player's code, don't give a fuck about. I'm going to complain endlessly about my terrible luck, thank you, because I am the unluckiest person who plays this game. Like, for real. I can have the mathematical best odds of winning. I can be ahead in points. I can have really strong unit choices and army composition. And the dice will just fuck me. Every time. It's okay. I've made peace with who I am. I am an unlucky wargamer. I know the game, I know how to play it, I know its ins and outs. Dice just hate me. That's why I decided to play Skaven at one point, because I just accepted my fate. If the dice are gonna screw me, I might as well be laughing ridiculously hard while my opponent does as well, from the sheer shenanigans. So... I mean, you know, I have some serious armies, but I never expect to actually win because of dice, even though I'm building to win. So, everything in this core rulebook is phenomenal. These are pretty clear-cut. Nothing in here is really ambiguous. FAQs are there, they don't really add much. I'm not going to be talking about faction FAQs today. Just not. But, there's only one thing in this entire two things. Two things in this entire 3rd edition book that displease me. Things that I absolutely hate. Now, if you've seen my previous videos, I did talk about, I don't like them bringing in aspects of 9th edition 40k into Age of Sigmar, because I think 9th edition is actually pretty fucking shit. I think the books are balanced. I think it's better written. I think there's been a problem with the edition changeover, and they've fucked it up badly, and the way that they're also doing certain things greatly displeases me. There's nothing wrong with the core rules. They don't belong in here. They're bringing the worst parts of 9th edition to this. And fortunately, it hasn't been an unmitigated disaster in my opinion. The game's still good, still playable. This was my greatest concern. I mean, if you've seen my previous videos, you know I think Age of Sigmar 2.0 was perfection. Like, don't screw around with it. It was pretty close to being good. All you needed to do was rebalance the battle tomes with re-releases. You know, that just needed regular battle tome support, and that could have lasted easily another 5-6 years. But here we are in the dawn of a new age. And there's only a single thing that I will undecidedly tell you in this entire review is fucking dumb and I hate it. Unit coherency. I'm very sorry if my microphone is peaking. I'm trying not to let it. The audio mixture might have reset because we crashed earlier. But suffice to say, this is awful. Your unit coherency in this game, the way it has been changed to be exactly the same as 9th edition 40k. It works there. Doesn't work here. In Age of Sigmar, you already had to be wholly within range in order to benefit from most abilities. Pretty much every ability is wholly within X distance, whereas 40k 9th edition is within X distance. So this was made to keep units clumped together in 40k and prevent them from doing dumb things in tournaments. This is purely to prevent dumb things in tournaments. I hate that style of gameplay and game design. Don't design your games around tournaments. But that's not the problem. The problem is, this is a core rule, and unit coherency, the way in which it works, you have bigger squads than you do in 40k. You have much bigger squads. This is a game in which, you know, formations and battalions of troops march into battle, and unlike the regimented warfare of Warhammer Fantasy, tends to end up being a lot more fluid as your battle lines extend out. Your phalanx, as it charges in, extends out from a brick that you use to march it up the board, all the way into wrapping around things as you do stuff. No more of that. This rule just says fuck off. You can't play the game like you used to. 10-man units of skinks can't screen anymore, can't spread them out properly. They can cover they can't cover as wide an area anymore. Units on 32mm bases, well, fuck them, am I right? They're only getting half their attacks. Like, you might as well just be playing Warhammer Fantasy with some of them. Like, especially with how bad some of them are. Saurus Warriors got worse, yet their points went up because of this. No longer can you have the ability to... Because you have to be in coherency at all times. Unit must set up and finish every move, so this includes charge moves and pile-in moves, in coherency. So you can't charge and then disperse into a line to meet them. No. When you charge, your brick of 32mm base Saurus Warriors, or whatever you've got on 32mm, has to charge in and charge in like a brick. And it's only going to get a tiny little bit of spread out. Whereas before, you could charge, declare your charge from a brick, and fan out to meet their lines dead on and clash right against them. Right? And you could get a nice spread allowing you to get maximum damage on it. And it was a huge part of tactical play, ensuring that your opponent didn't get the maximum frontage for their attacks, while you did. None of that. Who fucking cares anymore? Like, you can't do that. So, entire units have been neutered. You're getting way less attacks now in 3rd edition on a lot of units whose points have gone up. Many things that were barely efficient before, or were efficient, have gone greatly down. The only thing that this does not fuck is small units of 5 guys on 32 to 40 mil bases. Anything on a 60 mil base or a 50 mil base, I'm sorry. You're kind of screwed already. No point fielding big units anymore. And then, to top it off, 25mm bases are the only other thing that benefit. Because the one each reach means you're still getting 2 lines. So now, you're strong-armed into certain builds, being far more competitive than others. Which was not the case before. There was valid reasons for doing most things. You could get away with a unit of, large-based soldiers, using 1-inch reach weapons, because you were able to fan out and get some frontage on your charge, because you only had to be within 1 inch. Now, if someone disrupted your coherency, it was dangerous. It was a gamble. And at the same time, if you're going to try and ensure maximum frontage on yourself, if you whiff, they now are able to get maximum frontage on you for an even more powerful counterattack. So it was a lot of risk-reward. So, I hate this rule. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. In the case of this unit coherency rule, for example, they just showed off the new Gut Rippers. And you can build them with spears or with hackers with their upcoming set. Now, the hackers, based on all previous examples known to man, are more than likely to be 1-inch reach. Gut Rippers are fielded in a minimum of 10-man units, for 180 points. So, instead of getting 2 ranks fighting with, 2-inch reaches with their spears, getting double the attacks. Instead, with those hackers, you'd be getting half the attacks. You'd be getting 10 attacks instead of 20. For what? Hitting on 3s? Wounding on 4s? This is a hypothetical. I don't know their stats. This is just an example, a recent example to demonstrate. That's not worth it. I'd rather have the 21 attacks. I've learnt that the dice will let you down. 3s are not guaranteed. They are supposed to be reliable and more accurate. But more often than not, you're just setting yourself up for a bigger whiff when it happens. It's going to hurt you more when you do whiff. I hate it. I hate it, 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 I hate it. It's shit. Doesn't belong in here. And now, before you complain about tear-dropping, goddamn, skeletons to backlines and objectives, there were already reasons not to do that. There were already penalties in place. And, to be honest, there's a reason often don't see that around. Sure, you could do it. Often at times, though, it would be risky. Players could take advantage of it. There's good, there's bad reasons to do it. The tear-dropping, while it also made sense and was very cheesy, at the same time, I don't think I've never actually seen anyone do it on the fucking tabletop against me. Like, it's a thing of old books that are now out of date. Before certain, design decisions were made by the AOS 2 team late in its development. Like, the fact that I hate it. Anyway, moving on in this review so as to not go over time, as I tend to do, as many of you know. So, there's a whole bunch of things. This is all stuff that you can read for yourself. Command points disappearing at the end of rounds, I'm fine with. The way command points are generated. Yeah, I don't like the current interplay about command points. That person just... I'm going to all-out attack, well, I'm just going to all-out defense. I don't like that. I really, really don't. I liked the scarcity of command points before. It meant you had to put way more thought into it, in terms of what you were going to use and what you're going to spend on. I still like that, but it's not a killer for me. It doesn't ruin my enjoyment. Your inability to stack command points and the inability to stack certain command abilities depending on how they work. Something I've covered before in a previous video. Not going to talk anymore on it. I don't have an issue with it. This is all relatively fine. You can no longer retreat when you run. My Skaven kindly send Games Workshop the following. Yeah, no, this, that didn't put me in a happy mood either. But it's not as bad as a coherency thing. The ability to retreat when you ran was super vital. It was a game changer that added a lot of nuance to certain conflicts and was really important to consider. Sorry. It was... I wish it was still a thing. It was also something that super separated... It was one of those big differences between 40k and Age of Sigmar that... It was one of those... It provided a tactical nuance that you didn't get in the other game. They're a little bit too similar now for my liking, but you know, a lot of this stuff is very cleaned up. A lot of it's very familiar. Not much of it has changed. There's a lot of this clarifications on the strike first and strike last effects. This is a huge thing because Games Workshop implemented it and then started to go away from it because they didn't exactly explain it properly. Which means, with this explanation, I wonder if that mechanic might come back a little bit, because they started to shy away from it in their later books. But, everything is the way it feels it should be. It's still fundamentally the same game for me. It's still a very good game. I'm happy with all of it. And in terms of a review, like, most of you have already drawn your own conclusions. This is more just my opinion on it. It's a solid core rule system, but this review is going to extend to the rest of this book and to the rest of everything in it, including matched play, and that's where I've got some things to say. So, there's all sorts of stuff, and you got your wizards, your clarifications, changes as the spells are great. The changes to priests already talked about, and invocations taking one of your prayers to do as well. Monstrous rampages. I am not a fan of how they've reworked saves. The maximum of +1, -1. I hate that. I really hate it. It shows a level of laziness on their part in terms of game design. It was easily balanceable in 40k, and it was even more easily balanceable here. And now... the way it works, a lot of abilities are just useless. Like, Mystic Shield being back to a +1 is something I also don't like. This is it was a problem with Age of Sigmar 1. It was too strong an ability, and now that it's capped, it's kind of mediocre, but still a default, yeah, why not? I've got nothing to lose. Like, now at this point, stacking modifiers to your saves... and saves in particular, rather than just hits and wounds. Or is it just hits? Whatever. I only want to talk about the save issue. The saves, now it serves to just negate Rend. And now, Rend, which was a really good and important thing, which could really make the difference in combat, you know, it can be either meaningless... or, you know, it now goes from, well, there's no in-between. There's no balance. It's either it works or it doesn't, because either they've stacked a bunch of dumb +1s to negate your Rend, or they haven't. So, you know, like, armies without Rend are now weaker, and armies with Rend, well, you can defend yourself a little bit easier against them, I guess, but... what about like that? It seems like a poor balancing option on my end, and it seems a little lazy. I dislike it, but It's not a game breaker for me. It's not. It's more an annoyance. It adds a new level of nuance that I'm not particularly happy with, and changes a certain degree. Core battalions. They don't cost points. They remind me a lot of formations from 7th edition 40k. Because, you know, that's always what War Scroll battalions were. I actually don't care. This is fine. They're free, they don't cost points. You're always going to be able to arrange you guys into at least one of them. Your War Scrolls battalions in your codexes now being relegated only to narrative play. Most of them were shit anyway. So, there is that. The universal enhancements. Plus, there's ways to get more enhancements now, so, you know, I'm always happy with that. It's easier to get enhancements. Thanks to those new core battalions. So, I'm all in for that. That's actually a really good thumbs up in my opinion. Like, that's neat. These universal enhancements. T thinks they're better than most of the ones in the battle tomes. I agree and disagree. Suffice to say, you know, some of them are good, they're very generic and nice, I don't have an issue with them. I'm not always going to take them over the battle tome ones. The battle tome ones sometimes do the same thing, but with a little extra caveat, or with a little extra bonus, or do something in a slightly weird way. Yeah, sure. Like, okay. But still, I like universal spell laws, I like universal prayer scriptures. The triumphs, I feel bad for my Caradrons, but at the same time, they got a little bit nerfed, but at the same time, and I hate that they got nerfed because people were abusing them. I hate when that is the reason. Now, that doesn't feel like the reason currently, but I know it would have been a mitigating factor in many of their points changes, which is where things are kind of shit me off. But I'm not talking about points today. I'm going to reiterate that. It's a separate video for when I'm far less, we're in a far better mood. So, there is that. You know. So, these are all really useful in some manner or another. I did find the funny thing where you can make just about anything. You can make just about anything now a wizard. So I'm gonna make my Caradron Admiral a wizard. Give him flame weapon for, you know, a 4 damage hammer. Or I might do that on a Claw Lord or anything else that I really want in particular. Like any big beat stick hero, just make my general do that. Especially if it lets me get around certain terrible relics of certain sub-factions. Like, yeah. I mean, there's not many ways to do that. You still have to take the sub-faction stuff, but because Allegiance abilities and all that stuff still applies. Now, let's take a look at the next subject that I wanted to talk about in this review. The different styles of play. Open play. Open play is kind of been simplified to be a lot easier to just do on the fly. I read through all of these with T. We went through this entire book together. The fact that it's all been simplified into a D6, a lot of it's very similar to the match play scenarios, but like randomized. The twists are fine, the ruses, all that. The Arcane Prize was a neat thing. That's a neat scenario that I really like. Suffice to say, yeah, open play looks like it's a lot of fun. I like that you don't need the cards anymore. There's not nearly as many options. It's super good. I find it funny that they have a fully converted army in the main book when Games Workshop themselves clearly hates conversions. You know, just saying. They do. Narrative play. This is the winner. Narrative play's path to glory. They were really scarce on the details for it. up to its release. There are some, but they were few and far between. And worth the wait. This Path to Glory system, like the previous Path to Glory, was a fun little thing. Yeah, but it was mostly made for Chaos. This is really, really good. Like, my goodness. It kind of reminds me of a Total War vibe, or a Dawn of War, Dark Crusade. You have your territories, you manage your territories, you manage your relics, your spells, all these different things. You have to expand, you spend your glory, your units degrade and have casualties assigned to them that build up over time. You have to choose when to rest units, when not to rest units. You roll for their deaths, you roll for their injuries. They die, they get replaced. You have to expand your ability to support specialized units such as war machines, wizards, priests, reinforced units. Like, you have to expand these things by conquering new territories. You can explore new territories. There's lots of new stuff. The battle tomes expand on the quests and expand on the territories. This is what it actually says in here, that the new battle tomes will specifically contain new quests and new territories exclusive to your faction. That is a very cool thing, because it adds a lot more flair and depth and flavor, and it feels more like, you know, you're playing that expansive thing. And the thing I love about this is the way in which all of this Path to Glory is written. You can go to a tournament and grind out a quest in a day. You don't get to use any of the extra rewards you've gotten for the Path to Glory, but at the same time, your units also don't risk getting killed through the Path to Glory if you're playing against someone doing a non-Path to Glory game. But it's entirely cross-compatible. This is only, like, effort for people who want to put in more effort. And there's really, there's a lot of things and a lot of detail to explain. It's actually not that really complicated. I'm still learning it myself and getting my head around it. So I can't explain the full detailed process word for word without reading it word for word. But suffice to say, you can sit there after games and do the process by yourself, or you can do it after a day. You can select a quest for your Path to Glory to expand the lore of your own faction, and it's really just the more you put into it personally, it's one of those things to extend your enjoyment. And for me, as a narrative player who has names for everything, detailed lore for all of my armies, backstory for individual characters, their mounts' names, the stories of who they are, where they are, live, who their enemies are, who their rivals are. For me, I love this, and especially love the whole, it's the way this Path to Glory is represented. It's an expanding kingdom. It's your expanding empire and people. Or in the case of, in the case of, like, other factions, like, it's the roving territories you control, it's your raiding grounds, it's your hunt. There's 2, 4, 6, 8 generic quests to begin with. There's a 9th quest, which, got as just a thing with Dominion. It's a little card. These are pretty great, and they give you objectives to work towards through your Path to Glory. And they serve to give you extra glory points and enhance your stuff and all that. And this serves alongside everything else. And there's balancing in here for if you're an experienced Path to Glory army fighting against another Path to Glory army. There's a whole thing in here where basically, depending on how far upgraded their stronghold is, you have to play certain scenarios certain ways to balance it, so that you don't have an overwhelming advantage. I like that. You can't say that narrative isn't balanced. Matched play is not the way to play a Warhammer game. Narrative play is. And I think it's ridiculous that Games Workshop has taken till now, with 9th edition, with Crusade, and with Path to Glory, to realize it. Like, this is the way to play. Match play is shit. Like, I don't fucking care. I'm not interested. If I wanted match play, I'd go play StarCraft. That said, I'll still go to a tournament. And I'll still, like everyone else, match play has become the norm, unfortunately. So I still, understand it, still play it. But doesn't mean I have to particularly like it. I will take, pretty much, if you ever see me show up to a tournament, know that whatever army I've got is currently in the middle of a path to glory. And because of how Path to Glory works, you don't have to worry about that. But for me, I'm playing for my Path to Glory. Like, sure, I'm also here to maybe win a tournament and have fun with friends and drink a bunch of beer and play Warhammer over the course of a 2-day weekend and try and win some prizes. But at the same time, the great thing about how this Path to Glory is structured is I still am able to show up to events and I can still walk away with my narrative side satisfied. For me, it's not just a random battle. I can go in with quests to a tournament. And my other player, he doesn't have to worry about it. On a casual day, you can walk into a game store, you can see your buddy there or someone else you play with and say, hey, want to have a game? And they can be like, yep. And you can just be like, I'm on Path to Glory. And you say, yeah, I don't feel like doing all the paperwork for Path to Glory today. I forgot my notebook, or I don't have my shit, or I don't have my Path to Glory. Whatever, I'm too lazy to do it. Oh, sure, mate. Cool. And you set up, and then you get to do your Path to Glory in this battle, and he gets to do his Path to Glory battle. And it plays out like a normal battle. Except there's some more work for you, for your own enjoyment to do afterwards, as you level up your guys and work your way forwards in your own story to build it. And it's great. I love it. And your units level up, and the abilities that they get are, once per games, and only one can do that, and they're pretty balanced. They're kind of like triumphs. So they're nice. They're really, really good. The leveling up the strongholds, the rewards for sending your guys out to explore territories and gain new territories. There's a D66 here, with, basically there's 6 basic ones. Or no, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 generic ones, which you can see at the start of the book, and I think they've previewed those in some Warhammer stuff, in the start of the section, sorry, and Warhammer previewed those. And then you have, other additional ones. The Borderlands, Wellsprings, Large Settlements, Realmstone Reserve, Ruins of Myth, and Special Territories. And the Special Territories is you roll on your Factions Territories table, which is in your Battle Tome. So, there is that as well. And you do that as part of exploring, and I like this. You're not only expanding your territory, you're also exploring and developing more of the world. So, in the way that and I like that narratively, the way the realms expand, are constantly expanding, your story and world and fragment of the world in which you are fighting expands with you. So, there is that. And, of course, there's points cost to help balance out, like, how much it costs to, add units in terms of glory points to your armies. You can play at, every points of level. You don't have to start at nothing and build your way up, but you can. You can start with a fully fleshed out army if you already own one, like me. So there's that. The battle plans. The Path to Glory battle plans. Sudden Assault, the Trap, the Ritual, the Watchtower, Hold or Die, and Breakthrough. These are amazing battle plans. I really love them. They all have interesting deployments. They all have the ability to earn extra renown, which is XP for your soldiers. They all have very thematic things. They're not, make you sit there and calculate your points. Oh, how am I going to score enough points to win? They often just have victory conditions of, did you do the thing or not? Because that's what it would be like on a real battlefield. Like, did you do the thing or not? You're not fucking holding this thing to score an arbitrary number of points. There's none of that. That's a level of matched play which, It's fine. I don't care. That's how I'm used to playing. That's how it's been forever. But I like these. They're narrative, they're thematic. You could play through them all in a single campaign. They're really cool. The way in which they work, you could probably set up and go again. The ability to withdraw from battles when you're playing narratively with a thing means you don't take any casualties and have to do anything and suffer any troubles, which means you can keep playing out the game without having to worry about your path to glory. And then, the way double turns work and the way some games can go really, really fast and others can't, you can re-rack and do a fair amount of battles with these. And they're really nice. I really like these. They're really cool. The Watchtower is something brought back from Warhammer Fantasy. It's probably one of the most derided and hated battle plans of old fantasy. And I think it's actually really fun here and really well implemented. I would do these battles every day. I think the narrative battle plans, I think the scenarios for games have always been Age of Sigmar's strong point. Over 40k. I don't think that's changed with match play. Match play, yeah, you've got the ones you're familiar with. They're all a little bit different. There's only 3 in here, in the core book. The rest are in the General's Handbook, and I dislike the fact that right at the start of the General's Handbook, which I don't have on hand with me, but T has it, because I got this, he got the General's Handbook, I dislike that it says that they are seasonal. Like a fucking esport. I hate that. I'm not here for an esport. I'm here for a miniature war game. Sure, you're playing competitive match play. Have fun in whatever way. That's the way they want to take it. I won't complain. I looked through the scenarios. They weren't bad. A lot of them were just mixes on old classics. Slight changes up to ones that we're already familiar with. Nothing really new or original. Most of them, fairly bland and inoffensive for the sole purpose of, being that competitive match play thing. The competitive match play that I really, really hate is the 1,000 or 2,000 only in match play. I hate that. But battle tactics and grand tactics, I don't have an issue with either. I like the grand tactic. It's a justification. The battle tactics are, I think, the idea from 9th edition for secondary objectives. I think those, but implemented a lot better. Just a lot better in general. Just, yeah. And then we've got... T thinks this is an ugly color scheme, but I love it. I love it. I think it's a great color scheme. And then we got Conquest Unbound. And this will be the last thing, and then I might ramble. So, Conquest Unbound. This is just a bunch of weird random crap from previous General's Handbooks that has all just been collated and refined. And it includes Siege Warfare. And the way Siege Warfare has been done, it's been refined from its previous iteration, and it's very, very cool. I really, really like it. There's only one battle plan per each of these, but each of these are classic things that you come to know and expect that have been way refined, and they're really, really cool. The siege phase is something that happens at the beginning of the game and is its own mind game that can be really, really cool and fun. The way in which you set up fortifications is kind of what we're familiar with, but it works a little bit better due to the refinement on garrison rules and stuff, so it's pretty cool. The scenario itself is really, really neat. Triumph and Treachery is back, and it's still Triumph and Treachery. Like, it's still a ball of fun. Like, tunnel fighting, this got me really wrapped. The tunnel fighting scenario is really, really awesome. And the fact that it's actually a bit like the Vanguard games, the meeting engagements. You actually play 3 matches in a tunnel war battle plan. When you tunnel fight, and you split your army into 3s, and they basically each fight each other's best out of 3 with all sorts of stuff. And you've got, the ability to collapse tunnels. You place a wild monster on the battlefield, and you can use a heroic action to try and take control of the monster. Otherwise, the person who it gets controlled based on who got stuff, who got initiative. It's so cool and so very thematic with the rules for tunnel fighting. I really, really like it. The ability to collapse stuff and set cunning traps and all that. So, Age of Sigmar 3rd edition. I like it. I think it's good. I think they messed with perfection when they didn't have to. I think they fucked up maybe 2 things. Not a fan of the direction they're taking match play, because I'm not a fan of the direction, because it's the direction that they're taking 40k's match play, which I am not a fan of. And they look to be taking that way. I'm not a fan of that. But at the same time, Age of Sigmar still retains its identity. They brought over some bad things from 9th edition that I think didn't belong in here. Some of them are oppressive and shit and kind of really fuck the balance of the game and ruin a lot of it, like coherency. Other bits are here or there. Overall, I think they are right when they say it's more balanced. It feels more balanced. The scenarios are really cool. Path to Glory is probably the best thing in this entire book. It's amazing. So yeah. I don't think there's anything more to say on this. You can read the thing and make your own opinions on it. The book itself is quality and fantastic. This is great. Like everything, it's overpriced, and I would not recommend anyone to buy Dominion unless you're splitting that. And especially if you're in Australia, I don't recommend you buy it. Box's contents are... Anyway, so, yeah. I spent a lot of time really debating this. I was not sure if I liked 3rd edition. I was really not sure. Because I loved 2nd edition. It was a fantastic edition. So now, I want to hear from you guys in the comments what you currently think of 3rd edition. I'd be curious, because I spent a lot of time myself, thinking over, did I like this, didn't I like it? Is it good, is it bad, did they bring too much of 40k into it, did they not bring enough 40k into it? Which, I never once thought that. Is the coherency thing really such a bad thing in your opinion? I think it's absolutely terrible. I think it's the worst thing in here. That said, I still think it's a good game. Still think it's playable. I just think it's changed to be a lot more like Warhammer Fantasy. So I'd like to know what you think. And this concludes sort of my review/ramble time on Age of Sigmar 3rd edition. I'll be following up with a bunch of new videos. I'm back now. The next video coming out, I think, is a review of all the different Get Starting boxes. And whether or not they're worth it and how useful they are. So, stay tuned for that. I have been Jay from Jade Productions. I will see you next time. Happy wargaming, and please take care of yourself and have a very good day.